Welcome back to the channel. You know me, it's that M.I.C. Craig, aka Mr. Impact, back here on the Mr. Impact Craig YouTube channel. And this is Let's Talk About It, a series in which I take a subject or a news story and I talk about it. Whether it be TNA, whether it be wrestling in general. If it's newsworthy, I want to talk about it. Go in more depth than I normally would on a preview or just a random video. This is Let's Talk About It. And I thought I'd start the series off with talking about the NXTNA relationship, give my thoughts and feelings, a rundown of it, and just, go in a little bit more depth than I have in the past. I guess, before we get started, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe, follow me here, there, and everywhere. But let's get into it. TNA NXT relationship. It's been an interesting one. Let's go through a little bit of a breakdown first, because for me personally, it's felt very much like TNA have sent the most people, which they have. If you break it down, they've certainly sent the biggest stars, and yes, I think they've sent the most people as well. So let's just get straight into it. Of course, we kicked things off. It was the 28th of May episode of NXT, when Jordynne Grace appears to challenge Roxanne Perez for the NXT Women's Championship. That then led to a match on the 4th of June episode against Stevie Turner, which Jordynne won, before challenging Roxanne Perez at Battleground on June 9th, a match of course she would lose. That also included the appearance of Ash by Elegance, interfering in the match to essentially cost Jordynne Grace the match. Then, of course, a few weeks later, at Against All Odds on June 14th, Jordynne Grace issued an open challenge for the TNA Knockouts World Championship, which was accepted by NXT's Tatum Paxley. Following week on NXT TV was a number one contenders battle royal for the NXT Championship, which featured the King of TNA, Frankie Kazarian, and also Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry eliminated first, of course, and Frankie Kazarian making it to the final four of that Battle Royal. Then, on the 28th of June episode of TNA Impact, Charlie Dempsey appeared and interfered in the match between Trey Miguel, and Leon Slater. This then led, after that, it was Heatwave on July 7th. And at the end of Heatwave, we had a little appearance from Joe Hendry, just a little, his... which then led to July 9th episode of NXT, Trick Williams needing a tag team partner to take on Ethan Page and Shawn Spears, which turned out to be Joe Hendry. Also on that episode, we had the appearance of Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel of the Rascals to convince Wesley to not go anywhere. Then that week on TNA, Charlie Dempsey defeated Zachary Wentz with the help of Miles Bourne. Backstage, we had Tavion Heights, which then led to Santino making a match for the following episode of TNA, with the NQCC taking on the Rascals and Kushida. But on NXT, the week after, we had the Rascals in 6-man tag action against Gallus, defeating Gallus, and we had Joe Hendry on commentary. Also happened this past week, but let's go in order here. Then we had 6-man tag action on TNA. It was the No Quarter Catch Crews, Charlie Dempsey, Tavion Heights, and Miles Bourne. Also on that episode, I believe, on certainly one of them, week before, perhaps. Yeah, I should double check these dates. But also in TNA, we've had Izzy Dame, who took on Jordynne Grace in an open challenge for the Knockouts World Championship again, in a losing effort. Of course, on the Go Home show, we had Wesley appear in the treehouse with the rest of the Rascals, leading to a match at Slammiversary between the No Quarter Catch Crew and the Rascals. And also on NXT, this past NXT on the 23rd, we had an appearance from Joe Hendry, but it's more of a package saying that he'll be at the Great American Bash Night 1 in a live concert. Also, in the main event, we had the Rascals defeating the team of Javon Evans and the NXT Tag Team Champions, Nathan Frazier and Axiom. So that's everyone who's gone through the portal on both ends so far. And you can't ignore the fact that TNA have sent the bigger stars. Now, NXT is a developmental brand for WWE. So these are the rising stars. But when you look at their roster, besides the No Quarter Catch Crew, who arguably still aren't the highest on the roster in terms of the NXT tier, but they're a known name at least. Yes, they've changed a lot. Like, they've gone through different people, which I'm not getting into. It's a whole thing. But again, this is no disrespect to Tatum Paxley or Izzy Dame, but they're not featured regularly enough on NXT TV for people to recognise their music and for people to recognise them when they come out on TNA. Although it got an NXT champ, but I think that was mainly because Jade Chung introduced them as NXT's Tatum Paxley and NXT's Izzy Dame. So that's a whole thing there. But then you get into the weeds of it. Joe Hendry's been on NXT almost every week since the Battle Royal. The Rascals have been on TV, on NXT TV, since they came to 3 weeks ago now. To feature them regularly, again, I can understand why it's easier for TNA people to be featured on NXT on a weekly basis because it's live. That's a bonus right there. You can't really ignore the fact that NXT is live and TNA isn't. Hence why why you couldn't avoid the spoilers of Charlie Dempsey and the NQCC showing up and Izzy Dame showing up. You couldn't really avoid those spoilers because it's not live, and that's a thing that goes against TNA. And going back to the star power thing, again, I'm not blind to realise where TNA is in the ranking system of pro wrestling in the world. Well, not in the world, certainly in America. Because if you look at it worldwide, TNA is still pretty high up over here. But not being live does hinder the company. And TNA have had a lot of ups and downs. But you can't ignore the fact that these people go to NXT and the NXT universe know exactly who they are. They know the chants, they know all that stuff. Not bad for a dead company, right? And I'm not saying the TNA stars haven't been featured well on NXT, because they have. They've been in main events, they've been in high profile matches, they've won matches, which, if you go back to the Impact at the time, TNA and AEW relationship, I don't think anyone, minus the Good Brothers, but they don't really count when it comes to TNA guys, because they were the Elite, they were Bullet Club, they're in that world. They're friends with the Young Bucks, they know it all. No one really went besides Donna Purrazzo again, but she lost. She lost the Ring of Honor Women's Championship to Willow Nightingale on an episode of Dynamite. Also, you had W. Morrissey, who at that time was still signed to TNA. But again, I'm pretty sure he lost too. So it is different in that way. And again, like I said, forget NXT for a minute. This is WWE. This is WWE and TNA working together. So when people see that, I think, oh, that's WWE and that's TNA. People are going to know the WWE brand a lot more than TNA. Maybe not more so recently, because we have the internet, obviously we have the internet. But TNA is not on their level in terms of TV, and that's the facts. Again, not their fault. Maybe it is their fault. I don't know the ownership situation, but it's to say that TNA isn't on their level is slightly unfair because they are in terms of wrestlers and star power, they're way above. I mean, you look at Joe Hendry, one appearance on NXT, lasting what 5 minutes if he was lucky, became WWE's most liked tweet, most viewed tweet of the year, overtaking the Undertaker at WrestleMania. So star power, TNA have it way more. But to go into more depth on it, it doesn't feel like. I think TNA has. I have to get the article up at some point, but I believe TNA have stated that this relationship has benefited NXT more than it has TNA, and they're saying it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but it has benefited NXT a lot more because TNA sending their top stars to NXT. NXT, I mean, I said it on a previous video that Izzy Dane versus Jordan Grace in that number one contenders match was the longest Izzy Dane match I've watched that wasn't a tag team match. And to send Izzy Dane, again, no disrespect to Izzy Dane, I think she's fantastic and there's a lot there, but but having Kiana James go to the main roster in the middle of all that before it even got time to get started didn't exactly help Izzy Dane. So for her to come over and still do what she's doing well. Like, she's featuring more, but not that probably is down to the depth of the NXT Women's division. There's a lot of people in that division, and only 2 hours of TV time to fill. Just to send Izzy Dame. I get it, especially if NXT want to use TNA as a platform to give these people who they can't give a lot of TV time to. I don't mind it, but it's when we're sending the top guys and not getting an awful lot in return. But again, I understand the fact it's not as easy because TNA tape 2 days a month, and then pay-per-view, PLE, and then more TV tapings. So I do understand it, that because NXT work, and they have like live events, house shows, whatever you call them, and they have TV on a weekly basis. They have monthly specials, PLEs. So again, I can understand that it's a little bit more difficult for NXT to send their people. However, it just feels to me like TNA are doing the most when it comes to this. But again, like I keep saying, I understand it. I can understand why. At the same time, however, it should be a little bit more of give and take. Because especially if you're in the UK, NXT's on the WWE network. So that's not, and just like TNA is on TNA Plus. So they're on the same. I don't know how many people have the WWE network, because I know there are free sites out there where you can watch everything. I don't know how many people. I don't even know how many people have the have TNA Plus. But when you look at who we've sent and who they've sent, there is. If we did a tier list, of NXT's top stars and TNA's top stars, Jordan Grace and Joe Hendry will be at the top of that list. The Rascals second down from that list, and Kazarian second down from that list as well. But Tatum Paxley, you're looking fourth row. Izzy Dame third. NQCC third or second, like maybe on the top end of third. But it doesn't seem all that equal. Now, of course, we don't know what's supposed to happen at the anniversary. You know, you can't. A global outage, it's going to cause some issues. So, we don't know what was planned for Slammiversary. The fact we got this show at all was a miracle. But yeah, it doesn't seem all that equal. However, of course, it's only really just gotten started. So that's how we've gotten to this point. Here's what I want to see, or what I could see happening with this relationship as a whole. With one more thing, actually. When someone from TNA is on NXT, that gets promoted to fuck. They are on that. It's on the show. It's on the social medias. It's on the website. It's everywhere. Someone from NXT shows up in TNA, particularly the No Quarter Catch Crew. No mention of it. No mention of the No Quarter Catch Crew in TNA. A passing mention of Izzy Dame in TNA challenging Jordan Grace because she had a match with. She has this thing with Tatum Paxley. So they mentioned that Izzy Dame and Tatum Paxley have something in common in that they both challenged Jordan Grace. There's no mention of the No Quarter Catch Crew. Now, I don't know whether that's because it wasn't, or they shouldn't have been there, or this is they're acting on their own thing. But there's no mention of it. I guarantee you, this week on TNA, we will get a recap of the Rascals and Joe Hendry's appearance. So that's where we are. This is where I want to be. Give me an invasion angle. Give me an invasion. It benefits everyone, it really does. Whether it be it probably will be on NXT's home turf. I'm fine with that. Give me a Worlds Collide. Give me a Lethal Lockdown. It has to be where it goes, because the nicey nice is getting on my nerves, quite frankly. Like, there wasn't any this week of a TNA chance on NXT, but we need to stop the niceties, and yeah, I need more. Because if it's just, they're there this week, fine, but it's not the territories. These are people from signed talents from different companies showing up on each other's TV shows. There is so much you can do with this. Because when you look at the WWE roster, just all of it, from the producers to the champions, how many of them have been on TNA? I know it was only one match, but Tommaso Ciampa was in TNA. Seth freaking Rollins was in TNA. You've got Nick Aldis as SmackDown General Manager. You've got Pete Williams and Abyss working as producers backstage. You've got Daivari, who, again, former X-Division champion, working backstage. There's so much you can do with this, and I just don't feel like it should be heading that way, surely. It has to be heading that way, because, what are we doing here, people? So, like I said, I can see an invasion happening here. And I think that's how it should be, because we can't keep going the nicey nice route. It just doesn't feel like much can happen from they're there this week, other than WWE tapping up talent, which is probably what they're doing, if we're being honest. And it's something I have a deep mistrust for, that WWE are tapping up talent, and I don't like it very much. But that's all we can really hope for, because although it has been reported that there is supposed to be more integration from WWE stars into TNA, but again, potentially it might happen at Slammiversary, but because of a global power outage, it doesn't seem likely. So beyond that, we have to just hope something more comes out of this. Because if it is just they're there this week, they're over here this week, see them on both shows. No, it doesn't work for me, brother. I want to see more from this, because just because they're not on like similar networks or similar viewerships, which is utter bullshit, by the way. I don't want to get started on viewers and all that crap, because you shouldn't care about it unless you own the fucking network or own the company. Get over yourself with viewership bullshit. Just this needs to be a working relationship, and if it's only benefiting one side, because I don't know if it's benefited TNA yet. I damn sure know it's benefited NXT's social media. I'm damn sure know about that. But no, it doesn't benefit TNA all that much. But there we have it. Let's talk about it. We've talked about it. Let me know what you think about the NXTNA relationship stuff. Let me know who you want to see cross over. Maybe I'll do a fantasy booking card for a Worlds Collide or something along those lines. But yeah, let me know what you think about this whole NXTNA relationship thing. Those are my thoughts on it anyway. If we want to do a video on it for some time, I don't know if we can get this into a series. Let me know what you want to talk about next, because it's not very often I do something like this, focusing on one topic. So let me know. And with that, I've been that M.I.C. Goodbye, my friends.